Hello there. First of all, I apologise that this part has taken so long in getting out there. I've been extremely busy over the past week with unforeseen, circumstances coming my way. But this is going to be part 5 of a story. If you haven't seen the previous 4 parts yet, I highly recommend watching those first, or else this likely won't make any kind of sense to you. Now without further ado, let's get back into the story. This part opens on the Asgardian refugee ship. Ebony Maw walks through the bodies and gives his speech. Thor, Loki and Trey of Triforia are the last survivors. Loki in this version doesn't try his luck against Thanos without the Hulk. Trey sees no way out of this, so he outstretches his hand and sends all of his energy to Thor. He starts to glow and eventually teleports out of there. Thanos tells Trey that was a mistake and kills him. Thanos uses the Power Stone to destroy the ship, and he teleports himself and the Black Order out of there. Back on Earth, Thor crashes through the Sanctum, and the gold power staff forms in his hand. He looks to Doctor Strange and says, "Thanos is coming." Doctor Strange approaches Tony in the park and asks him to come with him. He brings him back to the Sanctum, and he reunites with Thor. Thor gives them all a rundown on what's been happening, how Thanos is collecting the Infinity Stones, and he already has the Power and Space Stones. Tony asks where he'll be going next, and Thor says he'll go to the stone with the least resistance, and concludes that to be the Reality Stone. Thanos, knowing that the Time Stone is here, and the Reality Stone is on Nowhere, which is relatively unguarded, and nobody knows where the Soul Stone is, and searching for that stone will slow him down, and the Mind Stone is on Aquitar, guarded by a team of Power Rangers. Thor says they need to get the team together, and Tony agrees, sending an emergency signal to the Avengers. The discussion is then interrupted, however, by the arrival of the Black Order on Earth. The 4 of them exit to the street, and Tony asks Thor if he wants a piece, and Thor says of course he does. And he holds up the staff, and it fills with energy, and a gold shield forms around his chest. Thor slams into Cull Obsidian while Tony, Strange and Wong take on Ebony Maw, Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive. Thor is struggling to fight with a weapon and a power he's unfamiliar with. Spider-Man drops in to help, and not long after that, the Ultron drones arrive to respond to the threat. The Black Order are overwhelmed and forced to retreat back into space. After the battle, Tony says they'll go to the Avengers facility to meet the team, and Thor says he can't go with him. He won't be able to take on Thanos without an Asgardian weapon, and he plans on going to Nidavellir to forge a new hammer. Tony asks if there's anything he can do to help, and he says he can get him to a team of Power Rangers. Thor meets with Alpha, Billy and Tommy at the command center. Thor explains the situation. Billy says they may be able to teleport him to Nidavellir, and Tommy and Alpha offered to go with him. Billy then teleports the 3 of them away and prepares to meet with the Avengers. Back in space, the Guardians arrive at the wreck of the Asgardian refugee ship, and they find Loki still alive. They take him in and explain what's happened. Gamora explains Thanos' plan to the Guardians. Loki elaborates, saying he took the Power Stone when he decimated Xandar, and now he has the Space Stone after murdering half his people. Gamora explains that Thanos took the Mind Stone from Aquitar recently. Loki says with nobody knowing where the Soul Stone is, he'll be going to Nowhere to get the Reality Stone. Gamora says they need to stop him at Nowhere, and Loki says no. He's already way too strong for them. Their best bet is to go to Earth and help the Avengers protect the Time Stone. Quill attempts to protest, but Loki isn't playing games. Gamora agrees, feeling that if it's true that Thanos will beat them on Nowhere, then the Soul Stone will be at risk of being found if she's captured. Back on Earth, Tony, Strange and Peter walk into the Avengers compound and are met by Natasha and Rhodey. Tony attempts to justify himself to General Ross, but are then interrupted when Steve and Sam walk into the room. Ross tells Rhodey to arrest them, and Rhodey refuses. Steve has the idea to take the fight to Wakanda. Tony contacts all of the Avengers to meet them in Wakanda. Back in space, Thor, Tommy and Alpha arrive on Nidavellir and find out what Thanos did there. Thor convinces Eitri to help them, and they work at Stormbreaker. Alpha runs diagnostics on the Forge, and he makes the adjustments necessary for the Forge to not break down during the process. Tommy uses the Red Zero to restart the Forge. Back on Earth, everyone begins to arrive in Wakanda. T'Challa rallies his army, and Wong brings as many sorcerers from Kamar-Taj as he can spare. Ultron drones also show up to help, and every Power Ranger team teleport in too. Doctor Strange views all of the potential futures for this conflict. The armies of Earth are ready when the Benatar flies in and lands. The Avengers surround the craft, and the ramp lowers. Loki walks down the ramp with his arms in the air. Tony yells at Loki, telling him to stay where he is. Loki tells him to please hear him out. They don't have time for this. Thanos is on his way. Strange tells Tony to hear him out, and Loki continues saying his associate Peter Quill has an idea on how they can beat Thanos, but they'll have to trust him. Tony says he'll never trust him, but Strange once again interrupts, telling Tony they have no other choice. Loki speaks to Tony, Strange, Steve, Jason and T'Challa in private, until T'Challa is notified by his AI that many transport ships have entered the upper atmosphere. The Black Order returns, being backed by the full force of Thanos' army. The three armies of Earth stand together behind the Avengers, backed by the Ultron drones. The battle begins with utter chaos. Leviathans fly overhead, and Eric summons the Q-Rex to deal with them. Jason switches frequently between his red and gold forms until he eventually calls out King Ranger mode and he morphs into a hybrid of the two forms. The extra Rangers are fighting in the woods, and they all turn to notice Thanos walking through a portal into the field. Doggy Kruger calls it in, and the Avengers running to the woods. Thanos is then met with the combined efforts of Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, and King Ranger. Back in space, Stormbreaker is missing its handle, and Thor is panicking. He then holds the Gold Ranger staff in front of him and has an idea. He fuses Stormbreaker's axe into the staff, and the blade turns to gold. Thor is filled with a new power. Back on Earth, the Red Rangers group up to help the Avengers with Thanos. They activate their battleizers and blast Thanos. He begins to weaken. The Bifrost hits the field and Thor and Tommy, now the Green Ranger, emerge through it. Tommy calls the Dragon Zord to help the Q-Rex and rejoins the Mighty Morphin team. After a while, Tommy begins cycling through his other forms, ending on Dino Thunder Black to help the Dino Thunder team. They form the Zrex Blaster and take out Corvus Glaive. Thanos notices he's struggling, and the Zords are getting in the way, and he uses the stones to grow Cull Obsidian to giant size, and he begins fighting the Zords. Eric converts the Q-Rex to Megazord mode, and the Mighty Morphin Rangers call their Zords to convert the Dragon Zord into fighting mode, and the two Zords fight Cull Obsidian. Thanos is being tired out, however, by the unrelenting force of the Avengers and the Power Rangers, and their plan is then put into action. Doctor Strange drops Mantis onto Thanos' back, and puts him to sleep. Thor wastes no time and lands next to Thanos and cuts his arm off. Gamora then rushes up to Thanos and stabs him through the heart. Thanos dies on the field. The rest of Thanos' army is beaten back, and following the battle, the Avengers meet to discuss what will become of the Infinity Stones. Strange says that he will continue to protect the Time Stone, and Thor says he will take back the Space Stone. Billy offers to take the Power Stone, and T'Challa offers to protect the Reality Stone, which leaves only the Mind Stone left. Tony speaks up saying with their kind permission, and the assistance of Bruce, Billy, and Shuri, he has a plan for the Mind Stone. Four of them then create a superior version of Vision, which is also able to work alongside Ultron directly. The team goes their separate ways, with Tony retiring, and Thor becoming King of New Asgard. Loki decides to leave, knowing that the Earth will never be comfortable with him staying. Loki leaves with the Guardians to find his place in the galaxy, and the brothers say goodbye. Earth then enters a golden age of peace and technological advancement, and in a few years would become a futuristic utopia, and with the Asgardians and Skrulls paving the way, New Tech City would become a haven for alien species across the galaxy after the SPD Delta Command Center is established. And that is where this story ends. Thank you guys very much for watching this story and following it through to the very end. I very much enjoyed writing it. If you like this story, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch any of my other stuff. It really helps out the channel. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for my next live stream. But until then, guys, bye.